Hi class. Okay, so now we're going to go over that chart that I gave you as we look at Introduction to Poetry and we look at the first half and what the poet wants us, the reader, to do with the poem. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we have the poem, Introduction to Poetry, over here. And over here, I'm going to have the chart, and we're going to go through it line by line. Okay, first, I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide. So here we have the picture of holding up to the light like a color slide. So that is imagery using which sense? Sight, because we're looking at the color slide with the light. Now let's go to our chart. So here we have line number 3. The poem is compared to a color slide. And how is that comparison? What action does the reader need to take? So Billy Collins is telling us, look closely at the poem with interest. You should be interested in the poem and inspect it to understand it. Just like a color slide, you need to hold up to the light and look at it carefully to see all the different nuances, all the different little things that are part of it. So that would be your first line of the chart. Let's go back to the poem. We're on line 4. Or press an ear against its hive. Again, the imagery here is using which sense? When you press an ear, you're listening. Again, press an ear against its hive. Here's the picture. See the beehive? Bees make a lot of noise, right? Bzzz. So when you press an ear against the hive, you're listening to the poem. So let's take a look at our chart. Let's go move this down. So in line 4, the poem is compared to a beehive, right? That we need to press our ear against the beehive. What's the action the reader should take? Why is he comparing it to a beehive? Because we need to listen to the sounds of the poem. And that's the actions that the reader needs to take. Let's go back to the poem and keep looking for more imagery of how we should relate to a poem. Line 5, I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out. Let's take a look at the picture. So we have the imagery of a mouse being dropped into a poem, and when you probe your way out, we're reminded of a maze. So there's the mouse in the maze. So what's the poem compared to? The poem is compared to, lines 5 and 6, the maze, which a mouse tries to probe his way out. We are like the mouse inside the maze of the poem. What's the action that the reader should take? We need to explore the poem. And even if it's hard to find your way through the poem, right? A maze is not easy. It's challenging. It's difficult. It's confusing. But we need to look and try to find our way through it to find meaning. We need to explore, just like the mouse, even if we make mistakes. Let's go to the next line. Or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. So here's the picture, right? Here's a bedroom. So picture a dark bedroom and you're trying to feel around for the light switch to turn on the light. So the poem is compared to the dark room that the reader needs to walk around to feel for the light switch, right? The poem is compared to the dark room. And what sense are we using? This is the imagery using touch, that we're looking around and feeling with our hands because it's dark. So what does the reader need to do? What does it mean to feel around? It means find meaning. We need to look around for meaning, kind of like finding a light switch. A light is like a light bulb. Aha! I get it! Right? Even if it's dark and difficult at first, right? The poem is like a dark room. It's hard to see what's going on. What does it mean? But that's why we need to feel around for a light switch, and then we understand, right? So again, we need to explore, even if it's hard at first. Let's see the next imagery that he uses. And by the way, if you did not fill in the chart yet, please fill in the chart, and you could use my chart to help you, and then take a picture of that and send it to me. Let's look at the next one. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. Okay, so let's see. Picture here. I don't know if any of you have gone water skiing before. It's a lot of fun. I haven't done it in many years. Here's the water skier, and he is going across the surface of the poem. So the poem here is compared to the water, right? Usually you water ski on a lake. So let's look at our chart. This is the last one in line 9 or 9 through 11. The poem is compared to a lake or water, to water ski across. What's the action the reader should take? Well, water skiing is something that's a lot of fun, right? So the reader should have fun with the poem and have an adventure with it. And he should wave at the author's name on the shore. What does that mean? That means he should think of his own interpretation and not worry about what the author meant by the poem. He should relate to him by himself. And I just want to make a few shout outs. I got a lot of really nice work from some of you making the chart. And some people weren't able to do it, and that's okay. I'm proud of everyone who tried. Especially stood out to me was the work of Karen and the work of Faith. And I thought that you guys did a beautiful job filling out this chart and understanding what the poem meant. That's not to say that no one else did a good job. I just wanted to specifically mention the two of you. Excellent work. And for those of you who didn't do the chart, please fill it out and send it to me. And as a final question for everyone to answer, I'll write it here. I want you to answer the question. Sorry, just put it right here. Which of these images do you relate to most when you think of poetry and how to enjoy a poem? Or if you don't usually think about poetry, think about music. Which of the images that Billy Collins used do you relate to most? Which of the images do you relate to the most, and why? Okay, so I just want you to answer this question in a few sentences. See, can I make this bigger for you? Yes, I can. Okay, which of the images do you relate to the most and why? For example, maybe you relate to looking at a poem like that maze that a mouse needs to look through. Or maybe you relate to the beehive, that you just like the sounds. Or maybe you relate to the water ski imagery, that you just enjoy it and find it fun. Again, if you don't usually look at poetry yourself, think about music, and that could help you with this. So that's your assignment for today. I want you to answer this in 2 to 3 sentences, and I want you to take a picture of that and send it to me over WhatsApp until we have our Google Classroom up and running. If any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and have a wonderful day.